Awesome. Well, I'm going to start making us a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Because not all episodes are actually filmed at 8 a.m. in the morning when you need coffee the most. But this one is being filmed
This is a great
at
opportunity.
8 a.m. So, yeah, this is actually
Yes.
a critical need. It's not just for show.
Yes. Yes.
But, Doug, welcome. I should say that first. Thank you so much for being here. A Name for Yourself podcast. I'm excited to get into your story, who you are, how we became friends. And as I've gotten coffee with you a few times before, I've been able to glean some wisdom from you in the areas of professionalism and also personal and family and all that. And so I thought I shouldn't just keep that all to myself. I should bring that here, continue to try to pull that out of you, and hopefully we'll share that with others.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and be a part of this, be a part of something bigger. And as I communicated with you when you first asked me about this, I was a little hesitant, but kind of knowing what's to be obedient is a big part of my life right now. So I took that as a step to continue to share what I have to offer. Yes.
Obedience it's such a great thing until it lands you like where you really didn't want to go.
Yeah, right.
Maybe on camera, on a podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, like I said, we have a personal relationship. That being said, it's not a very long relationship, so I wouldn't say I know everything about you. There's lots that I don't know, so I'm excited to find out more about that. But what I do know, I'll start there, and then I'll let you kind of take it away from there. But I know that you work in finance.
Yep.
You work, can I say the name of the bank?
Yeah.
State Bank of Taunton.
Yep.
In Taunton, Minnesota.
Yep.
Big old Taunton, big strong Taunton. And you haven't always been there. You've worked in other places as well, but it's always sort of been in finance, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And finance is probably the furthest point on the spectrum of work type from where I'm currently at. Mm-hmm. So I probably have like the least amount of perspective for what it is you really do and what that means. Yeah. So why don't you enlighten me?
Yeah, well, it's a great lead in because one of the things that I find so interesting about what I'm able to do in finance and banking in particular is working with people that are creative like you, and I am not creative. So, I can add value to your business model by, keeping an eye on certain aspects of your business. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's, just understanding, the space, does it make sense for you to lease or own or whatever that might be. I work with all different types of industries and people, and I get to kind of live through them and what they find joy in through their business. So, yeah. So, I've worked in finance in various capacities throughout my entire career. I graduated from SMSU and
likewise.
Yes. So we, while I was going to school there, I did do some customer service work and in finance. So that kind of got me going in that direction. And I got an opportunity to be a credit analyst, and going to college, I never had any part of me saying, when I grow up, I want to be a credit analyst.
You didn't?
I didn't know what that was even, but it's provided me a great base knowledge to be where I'm at today. So
you went to school for finance?
I went to school with the intent to get a degree in accounting.
Okay.
And because I wanted to get through my college career as fast as possible, I graduated with a degree in business management. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And when you were getting that, at that time, was there already some awareness to, I'll probably work in something financial, accounting, that side of kind of the business sector.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always had this in my heart that I thought I would be a business owner of some sort, and I wanted the aspect of being your own boss was intriguing to me, and kind of being able to shape that how you want it. But as I grew, I didn't have that definition of what that business would look like, and I never had a true direction on um, a particular business. So it's kind of hard to be a business owner if you don't have an idea of what kind of business you want to own.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it interesting though that now at least, I mean, your story isn't over, but where it is right now, as you just said a couple minutes ago, you sort of are the one of the ways that you help give oversight to businesses
Absolutely.
and still help think strategically and help people achieve
Right.
this thing that's kind of on your heart as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what I gather from a bit of what you said and what you enjoy is that you do really find passion, fulfillment in that. And again, and I'm not trying to pick on finance. It really is like almost a foreign thing to me. Like that's a real question I have of like, do people that work in finance, is there a joy there of getting up to do what you do? Obviously, you talk a lot about connecting with people and that being a one of the primary sources.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a bulk of it? Is there other areas too?
Yeah, so over the last year, I was able to do some training, in particular, of really understanding what my own motivations were, and what makes me get out of bed in the morning. And high level, or a few years ago, I would have probably looked at it like, well, I need to make X amount of dollars to support my family. Now, my family is still one of my highest priorities, but it's not necessarily about the dollars behind it. It's how I can add value to my family life, how I can add value to my clients and what I consider to be business partners, and how I can add value to those that I work with, my coworkers and the other staff within the bank, and that's really, relationships are really the most important aspect of banking, outside of the, everybody thinks of finance and they think of the dollars, but it's really a relationship business,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there a saying of like there's money in money?
Yeah.
I mean, like there's money in managing people's money.
Yeah.
Is essentially it. So usually, and we talked about this just briefly before the podcast, there is a temptation for people that end up in similar paths to yourself that work is always readily available and there's always another rung on the ladder or some sort of step to achievement of making more, doing more, being more. And so it seems like a landscape that's really tough to navigate, especially if you just don't have your head on straight. But you could feel like you're getting a lot of success, but usually at a sacrifice of a personal life, or if you're married, have a family, the sacrifice of them. So that's something I feel like I've observed you do well. I don't know about always, but right now, from how I know you, as long as I've known you, I feel like that's an area that you do really well in. Is that something you had to learn, or is that something that's just always been, that's a priority to me? Like I always want to, even if I'm not doing it perfect, I care about that area.
Yeah. I think, to answer that, I think overall that's been an underlying value that I've had. To kind of give a little bit of a background, I grew up on a farm, a small farm, and my dad ultimately made a decision to quit farming because of a hardship that he was going through at that time. And I don't know the details behind the banking relationship and my dad and his farm, but I would imagine that it was stressful.
Yeah.
And there were some decisions that had to be made. Luckily for my parents, they made the decision on their own and, kind of changed the direction for our family at that time. So agriculture has always been a big part of my life, and understanding these family farms that surround our area.
Yeah.
And then with the concept of finance, and once I was able to get into the banking realm and understand the importance of finance around farming and these small family farms, I felt this calling to that I wanted to help in that area. Now, I didn't know where in agriculture I wanted to be. There was a part of me that wanted to,
there you go, sir.
Thank you, sell John Deere tractors for a while, because I thought, well, that's where I can add value.
Sure.
Everybody wants to be able to sell tractors.
Yeah.
And, I didn't go down that path, luckily, but I had this, I got into finance, and I've kind of talked about it before where, my schooling was relatively easy for me. I didn't have to work real hard in high school or college, and I obtained good grades.
Yeah.
And then I got into my career, and by knowing people and doing a good job, I was able to advance myself, and I started getting that taste for money and what advancement looked like. And it didn't take very long, and you look at the time frame of all of this unraveling, and I really started to let this pride creep in, and I didn't understand that it was really pride.
Okay. Yeah.
And the selfishness of wanting to, what defines success was title and, my paycheck. And my ultimate goal was to make enough money so my wife could stay at home with our children.
Yeah.
And the only way for that to happen, I needed to keep going up the ranks and make more money. I ended up getting to this breaking point of a stress of, the family life was not very good. Our marriage was suffering because of lack of attention to that, and just various personal things that were going on.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision if banking and finance was really for me. And, grateful for the opportunity. I stepped away for a period of time and was able to really find myself. And since then, I've been led back to banking. And now, by just really focusing on those relationships and doing the right thing, business has been very good.
Yeah.
And I don't really have to worry. At this point, I'm not worrying about or thinking about the next transaction and, that God will provide. And just when I think I'm going to have some time to coast for a little bit, I get a phone call and, it's the next person that I get to interact with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So what, after this breaking point, taking some time away, what changed in being able to come back? I think I know the answer. It's kind of the area that we met. But maybe fill me in or correct me if I'm wrong. Kind of between just a rebalancing, new perspective, that whole area.
Yeah. So, for a period of time, I spiritually, I felt like I was lacking, and I didn't know how to really seek out for a change in my religion, I would call it at the time, and to really find that to fill that void spiritually. And this whole time when I'm going through this hardship that many people didn't even know about, that I was struggling with, there was a gentleman, a good friend of ours that we love,
fun guy,
is sitting there next to me going through this with me.
Yeah.
And I finally got to that point where he felt comfortable leading me.
Yeah.
And he brought me to an encounter night at Grace Life Church. And that first night that my wife and I were able to attend that encounter night was one of the most emotional times that we've ever spent together. And we knew at that point this was going to be our new home for a while.
Yeah.
And so, it was really by Joe leading us to a space where we felt comfortable in worship and praise with other people that were vulnerable and were outgoing and wanted to love on other people. It was really at that point that we had a turning point in our relationship as a married couple, and then as well as our careers and our family life, and the rest is kind of a different story prior to that, So.
Yeah, that's such a cool story. And I think we both have a lot of admiration, respect, love for Joe.
Yes.
And wasn't there, not to pick on him too much, but wasn't there something kind of before your guys' relationship, you had heard something about like he was hanging out with his pastor or something? You had a funny reaction to that?
Yeah. So like the summer before, our kids we're in the same swimming lessons.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Joe that well.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of making small talk, and he was telling me that he was going on a fishing trip with his pastor, and I was like, I guess I'm not going fishing with this guy ever. And then come to find out that, I would love to go fishing with Pastor Doug and Joe now. So, yes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is interesting. I mean, like we said before, in finance, banking, I mean, really business in general, but that's like the most formal. When you say business, that's what you think of. It's just that area of finance. It seems like if you want to succeed and if you want to climb the ladder, there is a formula. A pretty easy formula you can follow. It's not a healthy formula, but there's steps, You just work yourself to the bone and carry the stress, and, there's a very clear formula for it. On the flip side of it, as with most careers, if you want to live a life of significance and still achieve and, pursue things but be able to have this really strong family life and, really strong spiritual life, there isn't a formula. It's sort of a navigation you have to work yourself through.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag or anything, but I'm working through some ideas on refining the mission statement for the State Bank of Taunton here.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of the areas in the business and finance, it seems like you're measured by ratios, you're measured by your bottom line, your performance as a lender is typically in the industry is measured by your portfolio size and your returns, and there's all of these metrics, right? But this concept that I want to integrate into our mission statement is really not to be our success, not to be measured by necessarily those financial metrics, but to be measured by the number of lives that we can add value to.
People metrics.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So, and it's not necessarily that we want to get out and touch every person in the county or tri-county or state, or it's not really on a number, but how are we adding value to other people's lives within our community, as a whole. So, yeah. So there is in the industry, it seems to be, I hope that this is a fair statement, that, the more hours that you work, the harder that you work, the faster that you'll rise, up the ranks. And,
right.
and then that's when you become more successful. However, you can work really hard and not be productive. And
Right.
so it's finding that balance and finding your niche on how you can connect with people so that when you are working, that you are productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess since that is such a common situation, many people in that industry would find themselves in. What advice would you have for people? I mean, obviously, get plugged into a church, but if they're not there yet, if they're just like, okay, now they think of you like you thought of Joe. I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm not hanging out with that guy.
Right.
What would you say to someone that kind of does feel like, yeah, no, I'm stuck in the hamster wheel a little bit, and it's seems like the bolts are coming loose, and this whole thing could derail pretty quick here. Yeah, I guess how would you pour into that?
Well, I would start looking at the relationships, and what's your network look like, either, in your career and in banking, finance, lending, there's the relationships that are your client relationships, and then you have your supporting relationships. Look at both sides of that, Do the people that the clients that you have, the people that you are doing business with, do they support your values? You want to work with people that are like-minded.
Sure.
And not saying that I would turn away business if it was somebody that had, completely opposite values as me.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of us coming together on an opportunity or a business relationship is pretty small,
Yeah.
because we probably just wouldn't align to make it a fit for their business. And I like to be transparent with my clients. So you want to have clients just as much as, you're trying to win their business. They should be trying to earn, your business. And it is a true partnership.
Yeah.
And you want to, provide value back to each other.
Sure.
And then you're supporting relationships. And this is probably one of the biggest changes for me professionally is don't ever overlook those friendships that you have and those interactions that you have with other business professionals. Because, one of the funnest things that I get to do is, I might not have an opportunity to enter into a lending relationship with a business owner, but I just want to be involved with them because of how they look at life, maybe, how they look at relationships. So, look at those people that are around you and are they adding value to your personal mission and adding value to your goals, and if they're not aligning, you might have to consider, not necessarily cutting them out of your life, but, how can you bring others in that do support you? And, we talk about this all the time, the circles of friends and how that changes over a period of time. Who you're close with today might be different than who you're close with in a year from now.
Yeah.
But, you want those people that you hold close, you want to be your strongest supporters and your strongest influencers. So,
Yeah. So what I heard in two sides of that, I had two thoughts.
Yeah.
One, on the professional side, it seemed like what you were sort of hinting at was that there's a temptation to take any and all business.
Yes.
And it's that temptation that leads to a lot of the stress or getting stuck in the cycles of why am I have too much on my plate, and why, if it's not too much, it feels like too much.
Absolutely.
And it can be the emotional capital of clients that are just not a good alignment.
Yep.
And so focusing more on the as you said with the mission statement, the people metrics, making sure the alignment of relationships is there, that makes business fun.
Right.
The business will still come then,
Yeah.
but you're not going to be overwhelmed, stressed out, because it's almost like in scripture it talks about being equally yoked.
Yes.
That you complement each other really well.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I heard. I just wanted to make sure that's what you were saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then on the personal side, supporting relationships, I feel like that is something everyone needs. And especially in areas where you professionally are surrounded by people who are either collaborators or competition. And what I mean by that is like they do the same things as you. And so they probably think too similar to you, or they think too similar to how you're trying not to think.
Right.
And so I know it's like, I don't know how I'd classify myself, marketer, entrepreneur, whatever. I find it very refreshing to have friends that are not in that space. Not because, their perspective is just different.
Right.
And a lot of times they can keep you grounded because maybe they're not that impressed with you, because the things that you do, they just don't even understand,
Right.
Like you could be a huge success in finance and I would not understand it. And so in a lot of ways I keep you grounded, even though I admire you and think you're awesome. It's like, the ways that I think you're awesome have a lot more to do with professional performance.
Right.
Or have a lot more to do with who you are than professional performance. And for some reason that those relationships become so key then.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And that's if there's any area that I could give advice for somebody that's maybe, and maybe this can be applied to different industry too, but particularly in banking and finance, is that, try to find relationships to use as your client base with people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
I look at like the portfolio of business that I have right now, and they're all individuals that like I really look forward to touching base with them once in a while, and to see them achieve their goals and see what their family's doing. I've got one guy in particular that we're really seeing things come together for him. His oldest daughter is going to be going to school this fall, and just being able to grow with them is just, it's really neat. And I do truly care, but there's a balance there too. You don't want to get there. I think that in the industry, it's like, well, don't get too close to your clients, and you do have to be respectful of that, because it's money and stress do crazy things to people. So you want to continue to be mindful of that you don't, harm a relationship by getting too close as well. But I think just being open and transparent from the beginning is key. But, work with people that you want to work with. Yeah.
There is some real power and wisdom in that. I remember I was talking with a mutual friend of ours, and I think I was talking about a client, an old client, not with 917 anymore. But it was stressful. And he had given basically the exact same advice. And he had said it in a way I'd never even really heard this before. Same way you said it, but I never, really even considered it. And he said, not a good customer. And I said, wait, you're not, he's like, yeah, not a good customer. You got to cut them loose. You just yes, they'll pay you, maybe eventually, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be worth it. So cut them loose. The business will get replaced. And that was weird for me, especially as you're starting a business, to consider that you would actually turn away work. But as I'm hearing from you, there's a lot of wisdom in it.
Absolutely.
And it really helps down the road to then be able to look at your portfolio, like you said, and say, wow, I am genuinely excited, or at least genuinely care about all of these stories.
Absolutely.
And the various, roles that we get to play in helping them.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I've found too in my career is that I've been able to be very open and honest with these clients. And I have people that call me, and ask, can we meet, I have a need, and I've heard, that you might be able to help me. And we talk about it, and maybe we even get further down the road, and it's just a decision is made that I or our bank isn't a fit for that. There's nothing wrong with being able to say you're not a fit for me, and how we do business. But I've built this relationship with many other people in the industry that I know that might be a fit. So I can still help them. Even though I'm not directly providing, the solution. So as you have these relationships, and it doesn't need to be necessarily a hard breakup either, that you can just, hopefully you get to the point where you're mutually agreeing that this probably isn't a fit. And, you can have your need filled someplace else,
Yeah. I want to circle back. One thing I just thought of or remembered. Oftentimes, this is a narrative, at least we definitely see in the church, but the point at which you experience the most grace becomes almost a ministry or a heart that you begin to have for other people that you see on similar paths. And so my question is, being in and finance, knowing the stresses that can come with it, the temptations that can come with it, do you see yourself in the future identifying young people on a path that you were on, maybe that at that time it might be 15 years ago or whatever, and sort of, do you already feel that you already kind of have a heart towards those people of just, maybe they don't even acknowledge it and it wouldn't even be a conversation they want to hear, but you can just see it, and you begin sort of strategizing, let's say, of what that interception is going to look like?
Definitely, where I'm at today, mentally and spiritually, it's something that I am aware of, and I'm not quite there where I feel bold enough to where I could just, grab somebody and be like, hey, we need to go have lunch, and talk about some of this stuff. And you mentioned the church, and even I think when I was going through this dark time in my life and prior to a transition, I knew that there were conversations. Now I understand that there were conversations being had, and I see that sometimes in the church is that, hey, we need to stop. We need to pray for this family. Maybe you haven't been told exactly what's going on, but what we know, we're being led to pray for this family. And so I definitely am aware of, some people, I look at these, younger individuals that are coming into, finance or banking, and they look at how attractive it may be. And I just would love to be able to say, like, hey, be careful. Don't let the pride get in your way, or don't let your intentions lead you down a path that you don't want to go.
You want some more?
Sure. Yeah.
Top you off here.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure there are just like warning signals that kind of come on, and it's sort of a little bit of mental gymnastics of just what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and maybe that's something that just continues to develop. And
I'm sure that I'll have the opportunity to counsel and lead individuals at some point.
Well, it seems like there's such a need.
There is. And even yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and he was telling me about another individual that was kind of going through this hard time. And, I had a light go off, and I was like, I need to give her a call. And So I gave this woman a call and kind of just touched base and was able to hear her heart and what's going on. And
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I was able to refer her to another individual that, has a need that needs to be filled.
Sure.
So, I'm getting used to this Holy Spirit concept and
Sure.
really,
Yeah.
is this God speaking? But I think it is God working in our life, using people here on earth to be able to continue to, carry out his mission,
Yeah.
and by doing the right thing. So,
Yeah.
even in where I'm at today, I have the opportunity to work with some young individuals, and whether they become, an egg lender like me, or they choose to go on and do something else. Hopefully, I'm able to coach and counsel them in a direction related to the importance of relationships, and hopefully they get a sense of the importance of that prior to making decisions that would lead them down a path that they don't want to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without everything that, I've experienced up until today, and the people that I've met along the way.
Yeah.
And our leader of our bank right now, he's a tremendous man with a tremendous heart, and he carries a lot of the same values that I have, and the values that I hold close today probably have evolved over the last 2 years because of him.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so, the leadership, those that you look at for as coaches and mentors,
Yeah.
those people, you want to look at too. I remember many years ago, beginning of my professional career, I got asked, well, find a mentor, find somebody, and and be close to them and learn from them. And I look back at that individual that I decided was going to be my mentor, and not saying that he's not a friend, and not saying that he's not, somebody that I call him, I text him, we have conversations, but I look at the lifestyle, and I'm like, yes, definitely values don't align real close, but where I'm at today, I look at our bank president and Dwayne, and I can definitely see where our values align, and hopefully I'm at a point someday down in my life, in my career, that I can pour into others like he's poured into me.
Yeah. And on values, one of the values that I know is really important to you is family.
Yes.
Yep. And so you're married.
Yes.
You've been married how long?
13 years.
13 glorious years.
13 glorious
and you have
years.
How many kids?
I have 4 kids, so I have 3 daughters and a son.
Busy household.
Yes, it's very busy.
Yeah.
I had mentioned previously that my goal was to make enough money so that my wife could stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom. And then, I went through this professional transformation and then this personal transformation. And then luckily COVID hit, right? And
I think that's what everyone's saying. Luckily.
It's all about perspective, right?
Right, exactly.
Because COVID comes and my wife is working as a school nurse, and she's trying to be a school nurse and care for children from our home.
Remote.
Think about that concept. And it's difficult. And then she's also trying to, homeschool our children or teach from home. And I can't say that it was working real well. And it really, for those few months, we got through that. And then, summer of 2020 came, and we were able to take a breath and really look at what are we doing? What's important to us? And, in banking and finance, I would, I don't know if I'm an oddity here, but I don't really like looking at my personal finances.
Sure.
Leah runs the checkbook at home,
Yeah.
and I don't really do my own. And we were able to make some decisions, to where we made some changes in our personal life, and the Lord led us to a situation where we were able to have Leah stay home.
Yeah.
And it was really nothing that I did. It wasn't like I was knocking it out of the park with my job or my career, that I was making a ton more money.
Yeah.
It was just that it was kind of the opposite direction, And it was like, wow, once that's a true testimony of when you let go, then you can let God come in, and provide. So, so she's at home. Leah is at home with our 4 children. She's enjoying life right now in summertime, and being able to go to the pool and the summer rec activities, and being available is another concept that I've found is really neat. And I see it in Leah's life, and her enjoyment is, being available. Because as a young mom, it's stressful to find care for your children, and even just making food for a family. Leah's able to do that, because she's somewhat available now. Something that might have caused her stress before, of somebody just dropping in and saying, "Hey, I have to take my child to the dentist appointment. Would you care for my younger one?" That might have caused some stress before, but now it's like, yes, come on in.
Cool.
Oh, do you want some cookies, or have you had lunch yet? And learning each other's love languages has been fun too.
Yep.
But that is how Leah can love on others, is by caring for other people in that capacity. So it's been fun watching her, find joy in caring for others that way. So
that's awesome. And I think that there are many people that have aspirations like that. I know that we have a mutual friend that went through a similar situation where they were just really hoping, praying that they could get to a situation where the wife could stay home, and the husband would so that idea of like enough. And it feels like more often than not, it's not necessarily that you do ever achieve that, like, oh, there's the number I thought I had to have in my mind and I finally hit that. It's either a redefinition of what enough is.
Absolutely.
Or it's a very bold leading of, I'm not sure how this is going to work, but there's no real denying that I feel like that's something that we're called to.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think that's really cool that you have a testimony in that area.
Yeah. It's been fun.
And how old are your kids?
9, 7, 5, and 3.
7, 5, and 3. Yeah.
Yep.
That, I bet, is a fun, crazy, loud household.
Yeah, we just spent a week on a vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on Lake Miltona at a house. So it was my in-laws and their whole family.
Yeah.
And there was like 25, 26 people. 15 of those people were 9 years old and younger.
Oh, sure.
So it was a lot. It kind of felt like a crazy daycare, but we had a ton of fun.
Cool.
And a lot of memories were made. You know? So,
So what would you say is next? I don't know, like saying next, it makes it seem like it has to be some big shift, but professionally, but also family, personally. I mean, when you look to the future, you have desires on your heart of what you'd like for your kids and for your wife and for your family as a whole, and professionally. Anything you want to share there?
That's an area that I haven't really, taken, a hard look at, is, what aspirations that I really have. We're I found in my life that I like to do things pretty quick, pretty fast. And, if you look at, all of the changes that we've had in our lives, over a 2-year period of time, there's been a lot in a pretty short time. So I haven't really had a chance to really, look too far ahead at what we want to do or, one area is I'd like to continue to really provide a foundation for my children. They're getting to that age that I'm going to start losing the ability to mold and shape. And so over the next few years, with my older girls, I would just really want to continue to take opportunities for them to, find their faith. And whether that be, we're starting the idea of like these summer camps for Bible camps and letting them spread their wings that way and getting them involved in children's ministry and different things like that. I want them to be able to have the opportunity to grow there and develop that foundation.
That's a big aspiration, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like an important one. I mean, not big as like, daunting. I just mean that is the type of eternal / world-changing aspiration that excites me. I think a dad showing up is one of the most important things we can do.
Yeah. And I think, kind of coming from where I was to where I'm at today, I, being a dad and being a father figure is really important. And, as much as I'd like to say, well, I want to work really hard over the next 10 years and stack a bunch of money away so I can pay for their college.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's going to really provide for them the way that, in a meaningful way. If I have the opportunity to put some money away to help them when they get to that point in their life, great. But I think, providing them with this foundation spiritually is going to probably pay off, more for them.
Yeah.
So, being able to continue to have that balance for my career, because let's face it, we have to make money to support our families.
Yep.
The more money I make, the more generous I can be and more people I can help.
Yep.
So there's that. But, we have to have that balance so that we can pour into our children and be a positive role model for them and father figure. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to chat about?
I think I'm good. I just really appreciate this opportunity. It's been fun.
I appreciate you coming on here. It's a good conversation. I hope it was a good cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Good.
I need to get one of those.
Yeah. $15, something like that, Target. And you're all in.
Now I have an excuse to go find a Target.
Yep, exactly.
I'll bring Leah with me.
Yeah, she can help you navigate it.
Yeah.
Yep,
right.
Pretty awesome. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
It's a great conversation. I'll let you get to the rest of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Max.